Hello, and welcome to the Stoneridge Connect session on what's new in D365 Finance and Supply Chain 2025 Wave 1. My name is Mike McCardle. I'm a QA lead here at Stoneridge, and we've got a lot of new and exciting features to get through, so let's get started. Before we jump into the features, I'm sure some of you are probably asking, what is a wave? A wave is just a collection of features that Microsoft intends to release over a period of time. There's two general time frames for waves. The first wave is April to September, and the second wave is October to March of the following year. Each wave consists of features that will be introduced within one of two platform releases that come out during that time frame. And if you go into the wave release page of Microsoft Learn, it will give you the date they plan to release the the features within the wave. From this, you can deduce the version they intend for that feature to come in. However, that could change. Don't take that as gospel. I think they kind of do this to give themselves a little bit of flexibility in case a feature needs to slip into a different release. So let's dive in. I'm going to start first with the cross-app category. These are features that typically go between two different apps or are available in two different apps. And really, there's just one new feature to speak of in this one, which is the introduction of async or asynchronous updates. This applies to updates between certain tables that need to change from finance and sales or sales to finance. In a nutshell, up until now, all table updates that were done synchronously, which means it's in real time. This is important where data needs to be consistent between systems. So for example, I make an update in finance and it immediately updates sales or vice versa. And I really can't proceed with any more work within that app until the update's been done. Async means that tables can now queue the records to update. This is also known as eventual consistency because the records will eventually be updated in the other system. And the big reason for this is that if you're performing a large amount of updates on a table, you can continue working in the system and the data will kind of update in the background. So you wouldn't turn this on for all tables, but it would just be turned on for specific tables where you knew you were going to be having a lot of updates, like maybe a pricing table. Jumping over to finance. If you're familiar with the Accounting Source Explorer today, you'll know that currently you can only view one company's transactions at a time. Starting in September, the Accounting Source Explorer will allow you to view transactions across multiple legal entities. And this is exciting, particularly if you're working within a company where your accounting functions are centralized or consolidated. Could save you a lot of time flipping back and forth. We also have several updates coming in the financial tags area. Financial tags will now be enabled for purchase order invoices. And this will allow you to see information like the PO number or the vendor name and the subledger without having to use a financial dimension to track that information. Also, they are making financial tags available within the Accounting Source Explorer. Up until now, they've only been visible within the vouchers, but you'll be able to see them in the Accounting Source Explorer now. And also, the financial tags will be visible within the Record to Report data model, which is inside of the Business Performance Analytics module. Another big feature that's coming is that they're going to be adding Copilot-powered account reconciliation agents. Now, this is something they're going to be phasing in over time, but basically this should save your accounting team a lot of time on account recs. The plan is not only for the system to be able to detect account reconciliation issues, but also to proactively notify users when it sees a potential issue, and also eventually provide some options for possible solutions. I think in the long run, the goal is probably that it's going to be kind of like a learning agent. And over time, it could automatically apply solutions without having to have your intervention. But for now, in phase one, they're just introducing the functionality that will detect issues. So here's a screenshot of what the bank rec agent page might look like. There's a Copilot-powered sort of natural language explanation of where each of these subledgers sits in terms of account reconciliation. And we can see here that the tax has a reconciliation error and the others are all fine. Digging into that a little deeper, here's another screenshot with a more detailed view. And you can tell this is a mock-up. I think the actual page might end up looking a little different than this, but you can see, again, there's a natural language explanation of what the reconciliation issue entails. And towards the bottom of the page, it's also showing you some detail on the unmatched transactions, as well as what it thinks a potential resolution to that is, and then there's a button that you can use to accept that suggestion. So I think this is a pretty cool application of Copilot. The other finance feature that's getting introduced, and this is a big one, is that they are going to be introducing a completely new ledger journal framework in this wave. Get ready. I think I have a few slides on this one to talk through this because it's really big. A lot of you who are in finance are probably keenly aware of some of the drawbacks with the current journal framework. Importing, validating, posting takes a long time to do, to the point where in the past we've recommended, reducing the size of those journals or using DMF instead to upload those journals. Obviously not ideal. There's also no support in there for global or multi-company journals. In other words, having vouchers for different legal entities within a single journal. Also, your transactions really can't be easily reversed. The only way to reverse transactions is to just do another journal and manually put the entries in with the reversed amounts. Financial dimensions don't default from the originating company when there's intercompany voucher entered on multiple lines. So, for example, when entering intercompany voucher, when you select the financial dimension on the originating line, any subsequent lines that you enter don't automatically inherit that value. You also have no ability to preview your accounting entries prior to posting. So especially with complex journals or where there's journals where the offset's being automatically determined, you might want to preview those postings before attempting to post the journal, and you can't do that today. And there's also really poor visibility whenever an error is encountered in the posting, where that error occurred in the journal. Especially if you have a large journal, it can be quite cumbersome to define the precise line where that error happened. This is a continuation of the previous slide. Within the ledger journal framework, the new framework that's coming is basically going to give us a lot better performance for importing, validating, and posting. It's going to support manual entry of vouchers for multiple companies within a single journal. And they do actually plan to limit this to legal entities that you have security access to. Processing the journal is moving down to the voucher level. So all the validations and approvals and posting can still be initiated up at the header, but the actual processing is going to happen down at the voucher level. They're introducing also a voucher type, and that's going to be used to identify what type of transaction is being entered. So according to Microsoft, this is supposed to allow for better lifecycle control of each type of transaction, and we'll see a little preview of that in a second here. Also, they're introducing new entities for both the OData and DMF for the new journal framework. And to be honest, I think this is where a lot of the performance improvement is coming from, speculating on that a little bit, but I think they probably refactored these entities to run a little faster than the old entities were. So here's a demo screenshot, and you can see that the journal is arranged very differently from the current journal layout. And we still have a journal header, which you can see at the very top. But the overwhelmingly large feature here is the addition of the voucher grouping on the left side of the page, which we didn't have before. And within that voucher, we have the lines. And within this line, actually, you can see a preview of that sort of enhanced error management framework, which is indicating exactly which line has the error. And it even highlights where the error is. It's saying that there's an error with the ledger account, which is very, very nice. Here's another screenshot of the journal headers page. Shows a nice chart of how many vouchers are in the journal, as well as the posting status of each, and then some summary information about the legal entities that are within this journal and the voucher types that are in it. So it says there's 2 voucher types, vendor invoices and credit notes. And then this slide, we have what's called a voucher line overview, which looks like kind of a grouped version of the voucher lines for a journal. It gives you just a really nice, easy to read overview of each voucher within the journal. And again, you can easily see that in the status column, which of these vouchers have errors. So I'm sure for a lot of you, this will be a big improvement. They are rolling this out over time. In the future, they're going to build this out further with additional support for different account types. Right now, it's only going to be working for ledger-to-ledger transactions, but eventually it will work with the subledgers. They plan to update the other journal types within the system as well to match what they're building out here. And I get the feeling that this is going to be a long endeavor, kind of like when they switched from MRP to planning optimization. They're going to add support over time, but I think the endeavor is to make the whole journal experience more consistent across the system. Another thing they're going to add is support for easier reversals to make that experience better for you. They plan to look at the accrual and the periodic journal experience as well. I think with some of the reworking of how the journal framework is, they have to look at this anyways, but they're going to look at improving that experience also. And then lastly, they plan to address the data model issues that led to their recommendation to stop using the one voucher feature. I know a lot of you liked that feature and you were disappointed to see that go away, and it looks like it might actually be coming back. In the supply chain, Microsoft's continued commitment to integrating Copilot into D365 is really going to show here. They're incorporating Copilot-powered agents into supplier communications. So basically what they're doing here is actually integrating D365 supply chain with Outlook. And right now, you can use it in one of two ways, or not right now, but within this wave, you'll be able to use it in one of two ways. In the first way, the agent will be monitoring purchase orders in D365 and then automatically drafting emails for you if it detects something like a delayed order. These emails are just proposals. I've got an example for this in a minute, and you can choose to send it as it is or change it. The other way, and I think this is very interesting, is that it can actually read emails from your vendors and then use that to recommend actions within the system based on rules that you've set up. So rather than talking through this, I do have some screenshots. This page just represents a dashboard of sorts that your buyers would probably visit on a daily basis to review suggested actions from the agent. I get the feeling that this page will probably evolve over time, but you can see for now there's some general actions on here, recommending updating a purchase orders or reviewing some draft emails. And then on the right side of the page, it's also showing you a summary of some of the actions that the agent has taken over time and the number of hours that it saved you. It's interesting information. And then down below that, you also have some shortcuts to some workspaces. And I'm not sure if you'll be able to read the text on this slide, but basically this is an example of the agent reading an email from a vendor where it says there's some sandals or there's some parts that are going to be delayed. And the agent has interpreted that and then suggested some changes to the PO for you. So if you look at the changes column, there is some information on there about reducing the quantities of each of these three lines. In this case, your buyer could check those boxes and then click apply changes, or they could opt to ignore it as well. And then as you look down the left side column, there are actually more examples of what types of things the agent is suggesting, from PO confirmations to cancellations to change requests. So a lot of different options there. And I think this is all rule-based as well. Here's my last example showing what a potential outgoing email might look like from the system. So the example that's highlighted here is for PO confirmations, and the agent is basically monitoring all of the POs in the system to see which ones haven't been confirmed yet in a timely manner, and then pre-writing the email for you to the vendor to confirm it. Like I said, you do get a chance in here to update this draft before sending it. And before you blow up the chat, I will admit that even I have some questions about it. How do you configure the tolerances, the rules? Are you allowed to attach PDFs, things like that? I'm sure all of these questions will be answered in time. Overall, the basic functionality is pretty clear. And it really is exciting the potential efficiencies people stand to gain from this. I think it's really neat how we're sort of melding the AI technology with sort of the human touch and human intuition. We're not necessarily replacing anyone's job here, and I'm not sure that we ever will, but we are making people's jobs more efficient and pulling them away from administrative work like drafting emails, and then allowing them to focus their time on more important matters like strategic purchasing decisions. Moving on from that, they are going to be adding some support for tracking attributes. Tracking attributes are going to be an extension of the traceability add-in. Basically, this is batch attributes on steroids. You can choose from a lot more data points to track for a batch or serial. Yes, it will apply to serial numbers as well. Some examples of the kinds of data points that it can capture are things like temperature of a batch, even temperature at a specific time in the production process, or the operator who ran a machine. I've got more examples of this on the next slide. Measurements that were taken during the quality assurance process. The sky is the limit, really. And the idea here is that the attributes are things that you want to track for future reference. So in case a customer calls up with a warranty problem or a recall needs to be established, you can search to find what batches or serial numbers were affected. So this screenshot shows an example configuration for tracking attributes. And you can see here they've got date, they've got time, they've got location, worker, measurements that might have been taken during the production process, like the diameter, inner outer diameter, the pump membrane travel, water pressure that was noted during the test, duration of the test. there's a lot of options here, and you can't associate them with a specific activity. They've got it listed here that it's associated with all activities. Again, more information will come out from this soon, I'm sure, and we'll get to learn more about how to set it up. This is an example of what the tracking attributes search screen looks like. So the filters are for the USMF company, the hiking boots item, and the time period is for a month from August 20th to September 20th. And we're looking for items where the lace pull strength was less than 30 kilograms. And obviously, this is a very powerful search feature. This screen is showing the results of the search and shows a preview of the activity and the tracking attribute that was captured during that activity. In this case, the lace pull strength on this batch number was in fact only 20.5 kilograms, which may have been less than was desired. I don't know. Moving on, there's a lot here, and running a little short on time, I think. So I'm going to breeze through this a little quickly. A lot of support is being added to the quality management module for new sampling methods. So I can tell you this is pretty welcome. I used to work for a manufacturer, and our sampling methods were not supported by the system. We would have to just kind of manage it manually. So if you've got AQL testing or skip lot testing in place, this has been missing from the D365, and it's going to be included now. We're going to get approved customer lists. This is basically the same as approved vendors, but as the title would imply, this is for customers. So we can limit specific customers so that they can only order specific items. We're also getting support for electronic signatures. And I think this is mostly coming to support the next bullet, which is support for electronic batch records. We're going to get some functionality to manage corrective and preventative actions and some enhancements to nonconformances, as well as bringing an enhanced user experience to quality management screens for the entry of test results. Now, the details on these features are pretty light right now, but for many of you, I think just knowing these features are coming is going to be helpful to your future release planning. I know a lot of you are probably watching planning optimization, maybe sitting on the sidelines a little bit. Some of you have made the jump from MRP to planning optimization, but there still are a few features that have been lacking, and Microsoft is continuing to close the gap within this wave. So planning optimization will now support lean manufacturing scenarios, catch weight, and step consumption. If you're using those things, I trust that you'll know what they are. I'm not going to go into a detailed explanation on that. For forecasting, we're going to have assortment planning. So this lets you forecast demand starting from a big picture, like total demand for a product category. And then you get the chance to break it down into smaller pieces or allocations based off of other attributes that you want, like products or customers or sales channels. So an example of this would be something like you put in a forecast for 1,000 of a product category, and then you tell it to allocate 30% of that demand to online sales and say 70% of that demand to physical stores. We're not going to get the chance to do time freeze on forecasts. So basically, this is where you can set specific time periods that you don't want the forecast to consider new data as it's coming in. Even if you have this the forecast set up to update continuously, you can still freeze the time frame. So an example might be you want to freeze the next week or the next month's forecast because you've already ordered stock for it, right? This really prevents last-minute forecast shifts from disrupting your plans. You've already committed probably for the next week or the next month to the purchase orders and production orders that you have, and realistically, you're not going to shift those around, right? We're getting forecasting with signals. The goal of this really is to make forecast predictions more accurate based off of external signals. So things like weather, promotions, economic trends, and their Microsoft documentation sites, they're going to incorporate two signals initially, profit and XG boost. So you can select one or the other, or you can tell the system to figure out which one is best based off of what it thinks. An example of using an external signal is something like if you were to take umbrella sales and say, well, for every inch of rain that's forecast, we think that umbrella sales is going to go up 10%. And then if the model receives an external signal that rain is forecasted, it will automatically adjust your forecast accordingly. And speaking of automatic adjustments, they are adding auto detection of seasonality. Forecasting engine was capable of doing seasonality before, but now they're going to be supporting automatic detection. Basically, no setup is needed for this. It's based off of looking at historical data, and it can apply to any forecast algorithm that you have. The interesting thing is that it's supposed to work across dimensions. So it's not just talking about product seasonality, but also if you have a dimension of a location, it can detect location seasonality as well. So this is a slide of the forecast setup, and you can see here that it has got some signals coming into the forecast that it's considering, and then it's running the signal through XGBoost, and then it's saving the forecast. Here's an example of the external signals kind of at work. And it's more visible in the chart on the left, but basically it's showing the breakdown of the forecast and where it came up with the number. So the original forecast was for 485. There were some manual adjustments put in there for 55, but then the signal models are taking over and showing some decreased demand for inflation, some increased demand for the month of July, some increased demand based on price, and then it's showing you where to arrive to the final forecast of 561. This is another screenshot that's, I think, is attempting to show the signal correlation over time. And in this case, they've chosen inflation and temperature as the signals in this example. And I think this is my last slide. They are planning to integrate with external CLM systems, contract lifecycle management systems, and allow you to access certain data from those sites directly within D365. So I would not call this a very tight integration. A lot of it is providing links for you directly into your contract lifecycle management system. I do think there's going to be a capability to link, say, your purchase agreements to your contracts, and then you should be able to view those directly from D365. You can go open up your contract. There's a new supplier relationship management feature coming as well, which will allow you to schedule appointments with vendors, track vendor performance, schedule reviews, and manage prospective vendors. And last but definitely not least, there is a new vendor portal coming. Unlike the previous vendor collaboration feature, this will be based on Power Pages. So I don't think you'll have to give your vendors a login to D365 anymore or set them up in your tenant anymore. So I think this is probably going to lower licensing costs, and I think it's going to open this up to be used by more vendors as well. I don't have any screenshots of this, unfortunately, but from what I've read, it basically supports the same functions that were in the vendor collaboration portal. It's just that now they're going to be accessible through Power Pages, through an external site. And it's going to support the same things, RFQ responses, bidding, purchase orders. They can view their purchase orders. They can view their invoices, things like that. So if you're using vendor collaboration today, this is really exciting, and it should enable a lot more of your vendors to be able to use it. I know we would sometimes limit access to just sort of key vendors before because of that, the tenant setup and the license requirement and all that. So that's pretty exciting. Yep, that was my last slide. So thanks to everyone for attending. This has been a review of some of the features that are coming in Wave 1. To be honest, I really just took the highlights. There are actually some more features that are coming. If you want to look those up, they are on the Microsoft D365 2025 Wave 1 release page. You have to go in there and select either the finance or the supply chain pages to view the features that are coming in those releases. So if you want to look at those in more detail, all that information is there. I just went over some of the highlights. I think some of the big features that are coming, but really exciting to see just how many features are coming over the next 6 months or so. And honestly, some very big features. The new portal, we've got new tracking capabilities, lots of things. So thanks again, everyone. I hope everyone's enjoying Stone Ridge Connect. And until next time, thank you.